Time to talk about the Cold Steel AK-47 heavy duty folding tactical knife. Again, I'm at Impact Guns. Thanks Impact for the hosting. In fact, these knives that I'm showing you are direct from the employees at Impact. And if you saw how these guys are armed, you would never ever attempt to ever come in here and take anything from Impact. They are heavily armed, and these are their knives. In fact, one of the employees has used, actually these are from two different employees. Each one of them carries and loves the AK-47. And now it's time for Nut and Fancy's take on the blade. And these are heavily used knives, so that's the cool part about this, is I was able to get some intel from them on the things they liked and did not like about the design. This is the G10 handled version of the AK-47 by Cold Steel in AUS 8 steel. And the first thing, actually I've been holding off on adding an AK-47 to my own inventory because of the weight, and I'm going to get that out of the way right off, is that they are heavy knives, at least for a tactical folder. They're on the order of about 7 ounces. This one's about 6.5 ounces. And then this one, and this has a big chunk out of its blade, which is hilarious. I'm going to show you that here in a sec. Weighs about 7+ ounces. So they're not super lightweight. But again, like all my videos, I don't mind the extra weight as long as I get something in return. And what you get in return with the AK-47, I think, is a very effective, non-lethal, maybe lethal depending on how you employ it, impact device on the end of the handle. And they make it out of a polymer which Cold Steel calls Grivory. It's very durable. However, the guys here said they have seen them break before, at least one. Not sure exactly what kind of use it was undergoing. And they said one of their employees actually has an AK-47 and he took out the Grivory portion and milled out a stainless steel replacement for it, so his will never break. That being said, I think most of us would be quite well served by the Grivory impact device in the rear of the handle of the AK-47, and that's pretty wicked. I mean, you get hit by that, or if you apply it as a Kubaton in a pressure point scenario, I think it'd be very effective. And it actually could hook something like a lip there too. That would be a nasty weapon in and of itself. So that's an advantage of the AK-47, is that impact device. Also, it has a lot of real estate on the handle, and for those of us that kind of have larger hands, that's nice. We like that. And Cold Steel did a real nice job on the texturing of the G10 handle. Very nice. Feels about like the SIG Pterodactyl as far as the traction on the handle. I really love properly tractioned G10 handles. Now, this is flow-through construction, as you can see, and it's steel-lined and skeletonized liners in the G10 handles. So I think this knife is going to be plenty strong laterally, side to side. The blackened blade is decent, and apparently it wears well because he's used this blade a lot. The guy who has this knife does have a few nicks in the blade, and he said he did it while he was cutting some beaded chain, the kind you see on lights. So he nicked it a little bit, but still quite serviceable. The blade is short, and that's a critique both he and myself will give it. I agree with that. The blade is very short for what it is, and this is, in my opinion, primarily designed as a defensive knife, and as such, and like I've said in a lot of my other videos, if I'm going defensive, I want more reach on my blades. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's not enough reach. What is this? Just about 3 inches, a little over 3 inches. Not enough reach, and especially in a 7-ounce format, 6.5 to 7 ounces, that gives me a lot of other options. And if you doubt what those are, look at my other videos and you can see that maybe the Benchmade Dejavoo that has a 4-inch blade reaches out and touches someone. Has a big handle too that you could use as an impact device, the Benchmade Dejavoo. So it is a short blade. It is hollow ground, probably from the midpoint down here. And again, I don't know what the factory edge is like because this is a heavily used personal blade, so it's hard for me to speak to it. But I suspect, as all cold knives are, they come razor sharp from the factory. And AUS 8 steel is not a bad steel choice for this. The lockup on these heavily used knives is sloppy. There's a lot of movement. I shouldn't say a lot. There's some movement in it. and side to side and up and down both. And I'm not super happy to see that, because there's really no excuse for it from the manufacturer. Their Axis type lock here, and I forget what the name of it is for cold steel, I'll put it in the description. You know, that should lock up better. And I don't think tightening your pivot point on these specific knives will help that much. I still think it's going to be loose. Can't really speak to whether it was that way from the factory. I suspect it wasn't, is that it's just loosened up over time. And there's other designs that won't do that, kind of like Benchmade, so I think that's a fair criticism against AK-47. It's got the groove in here, and again, that's more of a throwback to the AK-47 bayonet, which this kind of is patterned after. And the AK-47 bayonet has a very distinct look to it, and this follows it, albeit in a different shape, overall shape and length of blade. So the blade's decent. It's got a really strong tip to it because of the grinding. This portion, the upper part of the blade, stays flat, and then it goes into the grind to the tip. So it's a very strong tip knife. Also, the wider blades, like this AK-47 have, will just shear better. The wider blades are better in the shearing cut. It's just the nature of the beast, or physics. They shear better in my experience. How's the deployment on it? Well, this is kind of the wave style deployment, and these guys, by the way, I was watching them, are very good at it. You just hook that on your pocket and deploy your blade. That's one way, and of course you can do it conventionally just with your thumb. That works too. It's very fluid. Both of the knives are very fluid and they come out readily, so I do like that. Of course, these are heavily used blades too. The pocket clip is what it is. It's not bad, and actually it's very strong. If it wasn't strong, these guys, and trust me on this, they would have bent it. They would have bent it. So it's holding fast, so that's good. Yeah, I would like it mounted higher up, but for this style of knife and how large it is, this is a large tactical defensive folder, it's fine, works fine. So that's the G10 version. Not bad, and you can switch that clip left to right, and thankfully they put it on the right end in a tip up configuration. Well done on that, cold steel. So that's the G10 AK-47, and get ready to laugh. Here's the aluminum handled one. It is heavier, maybe a little heavier duty since there's solid aluminum slabs on there. All the same things apply, just a different handle material, but check this blade out. Looks like a shark took a bite out of it. The user of this blade actually attempted to use it as a screwdriver, and he had it flat in the screwdriver and was torquing it, chink, took out a whole chunk of blade there. Dudes, it's his knife, not mine, so, you know, I don't know. I doubt cold steel would probably replace it anyhow. You know how sometimes they term it as an abuse or whatever. Anyways, that being said, he stuck it, you know, he's still using it. All he did is he sharpened that crescent bite out of his knife, and now he has a shark knife. And he's still carrying it, still using it. So that's pretty wild indeed. A little bit of rust here on the base here. AUS 8, by the way, is not the most rust resistant steel when it's uncoated. There's a couple little rust patches here, and that jives with my experience in the steel as well. Still a decent medium to a little bit higher than medium quality steel. So the AK-47 is a very heavy duty, very large handled tactical folder. My hits on it would be the lockup. It's sloppy. Granted, these are used knives, and maybe you know, if I abused or used heavily some of my blades, they do the same, but I think all folding knives, if they're properly designed, should lock up tight even after a lot of use. It has a very nice impact device on the handle, decent clip mounted on the right end, decent steel, and AUS 8. Fortunately, it comes in two different handles, the G10 and the aluminum. Very nice. I love the black blade. The wide blade is good for shearing. However, it is too short for defensive encounters, especially in a 7-ounce configuration. I think there's a lot better options out there. But if you want a very stout, all-around, heavy-duty tactical folder for not too much money, AK-47 is not a bad choice. That's AK-47. Nothing fancy. See ya.